So I want to welcome back Mike Cameron, who actually wrote the Emerging Leader book. You could see the interviews that I had on my LinkedIn social and what is all about in this one. Now, the reason why I brought him here today is because he will have a new book out very soon, and I want to have a little bit of a chat around the book as quick as we can do in a post on LinkedIn. So from what you said, Mike, here, your new book, it's The Effective Leaders, which is called The Effective Leaders, complements your first book, which is The Emerging Leader here, and is offering new insights, additional self-coaching support, a wealth of information, tips and tools through contributions from many worthy local and globally based authors. And you also set up a challenge for us, the readers here.
Okay, well, the challenge basically, let me just start by saying that one of the things that I got from people who had bought my first book was that they loved some of the stories that I had written. And so what I wanted to do for the second book was to really use people who'd read my book, had gone through and understood what the characteristics were all about, and could relate a story that supported that. And what was really fun was, for me anyway, I got some absolutely magnificent stories provided to me that sort of allowed me to start thinking, I can go back to people who maybe were having some difficulties on some of the ideas that my first book, The Emerging Leader, was talking about, in actually implementing it themselves in their own workspaces. And during reading these stories and discussing it with the various authors, it became clear that a lot of them had to show a lot of courage to actually be able to put the stories together. Other people had talked about some of the challenges that they were facing in work with regards to diversity and inclusion, gender equity and things like that. And the words that were regularly coming up was that our company is agile or nimble, whatever was the sort of expression they wanted to use. And as I looked at these things, I saw a terrific opportunity to search out some subject matter experts who would be prepared to write some special stuff for me that highlighted what we meant by these attributes of leadership that came out of the stories. And I did find those people. And some of their writing then got me, and I'm addressing your question now, was what's the challenge I'm saying to the reader of this second book, Effective Leaders? If you feel that you are an effective leader, and you certainly know exactly what I'm talking about with regard to the core characteristics, the 7, and you feel that you're comfortable at the way you implement them, a challenge might be, okay, how do you deal with diversity within your company? How do you deal with gender equality in terms of what you are paying your female staff? Are you paying them, or would you expect to pay a male a greater amount of money for doing exactly the same job and having exactly the same technical expertise? So it brings up a lot of ethical questions. It brings up a lot of questions that are well and truly talked about and discussed in a sensible, rational way in the book. So that's why I put that out. I think it's addressed in the book, but it does ask management, it does ask effective leaders. There are some questions I'm asking you to think about that will perhaps get you thinking in a slightly different way.
The main difference then from, I'll call the first book, The Emerging Leader, a very good book to actually look at the theories and tactics around becoming a more effective leader and improving communication, improving relationship with diversity as well, and so on. So in this book, as a main mechanism, use what as a way to get to us quicker?
Okay, I think this book serves two purposes. The first purpose is to give you lots of stories and practical guidelines from effective leaders on what was in the emerging leader.
I'm a sucker for stories, by the way.
Pardon?
I'm a sucker for stories, by the way, you know, like even in school, how we teach our students, via stories, and you made actually a reference to the Aboriginal culture in general, and I think the best way to relating in diversity is via story. Yeah, so it could be Aboriginal story, it could be a migrant story, it could be a gender story, or LGBTQA as well.
Thank you.
Category.
Thank you. And I think that was the feedback, Edward, that I got from a lot of the readers. They liked understanding the theory, and I suppose this book is stories. It's examples written not theoretically. There's a bit of theory in the book, but there's stories from subject matter experts, luminaries, people who really know their subject, that were kind enough to give me stuff that I could use in the book. So all of those things, I really want to get effective leaders thinking about how do we address that with the team so that we in fact have a really agile group of people. We actually walk our talk, and we literally come from a place of integrity. And that takes, one, respect, and secondly, courage to be able to enact it. So that's what my second book's about.
Well, thanks for that. The next question is where we can pre-order it, and if I can put a link in my posts as well, it would be great if you let me.
Yes, I'd love you to do that. But if you want to pre-order the book, if you go to the website at strategically.com.au, and the expectation is it will be available next month.
Well, thanks for that, Mike. And I will be a little bit courageous, and maybe I will get you for another piece on diversity soon.
No, I'd love to do that. It's a passion I have, and I'd love to talk more about that.